$9.99 a month for every song ever recorded. That was the deal Spotify offered when it launched in the United States in 2011. The subscription that saved the music industry from piracy. At least, that's what everyone thought. Artists on the platform now earn fractions of a cent per stream. To match one CD sale, a musician needs 5,000 plays. Tracks below 1,000 annual streams earn nothing. And the company that spent a decade saying it could not afford to pay more just posted over 1 billion euros in annual profit. That $9.99 did not save the music industry. The deeper you look at what it actually built, the more it looks like the deal that ruined it. How does a single price point reshape the economics of an entire industry? In 2006, inside a Stockholm apartment, Daniel Ek thought he had the answer. Ek and Martin Lorentzon founded Spotify in Sweden with one pitch. All the world's music, legally, for one monthly fee. If streaming was more convenient than stealing, piracy loses. The music industry desperately needed that argument to work. Napster, LimeWire, and BitTorrent had made piracy so effortless that global recorded music revenue fell from $22.2 billion in 1999 to roughly $13 billion by 2014. 40% of the industry's value gone in 15 years. Record stores shuttered by the thousands. CD sales collapsed. The major labels had spent years suing individual teenagers for downloading songs and had nothing to show for it. The service launched in Sweden in 2008 and reached the United States in July of 2011. The price was $9.99 a month, less than the cost of a single CD at any record store in the country. That number would define the economics of an entire industry, and it would hold for far longer than anyone expected. There is a reason this story is still talked about today. While every other subscription service raised prices repeatedly, Spotify held. Netflix increased its standard plan 5 times between 2014 and 2022. Amazon Prime nearly doubled. Spotify stayed at $9.99 for 12 consecutive years. The price became the floor for the entire streaming market. Apple Music launched at $9.99. Amazon Music matched it. YouTube Music matched it. Tidal matched it. Every global music streaming service priced itself against a number that one Swedish company set in 2011. By 2023, Spotify had surpassed 600 million monthly active users worldwide. Over 220 million were paying premium subscribers. The platform held roughly 31% of global streaming market share. Major record labels depended on Spotify revenue. Emerging artists needed its algorithmic playlist to build an audience. The dependency was total. And the $9.99 price point was a warning sign the industry chose to treat as a gift. For 12 years, $9.99 held. Then it broke. In July of 2023, Spotify raised the price of its individual premium plan to $10.99. The first increase in the platform's entire history. Family plans went from $15.99 to $16.99. 11 months later, in June of 2024, the Spotify app pushed another increase. Individual plans moved to $11.99. Family plans rose to $19.99. Duo plans jumped from $14.99 to $16.99. 7 months after that, in January of 2026, a third Spotify price hike landed. Individual plans went to $12.99. Family plans climbed to $21.99. Duo plans moved to $18.99. Student plans, previously the one untouched tier, rose from $5.99 to $6.99. In 30 months, the individual subscription increased 30%. The family plan jumped 37.5%. The price that held for 12 years was raised 3 times before the generation of music listeners who trusted it had time to question why. But the subscription price was only the visible cost, because the customer was only the first person paying more. Industry estimates place the average Spotify payout between 0.3 and 0.5 cents per stream. Spotify does not publish a fixed per stream rate, but independent analyses across multiple sources are consistent. To earn the equivalent of a $15 CD sale from 1999, an artist now needs between 3,000 and 5,000 Spotify streams. To earn $1,000 a month from the platform alone, a musician needs roughly 200,000 to 333,000 monthly plays. The vast majority of artists on Spotify never reach that number. A subscriber pays $12.99 a month. The artist whose song that subscriber plays on repeat might earn 2 cents from their entire month of listening. The subscription is the customer's receipt. The per-stream payout statement is the artist's. And if that were the only problem, musicians might have absorbed it quietly. But in April of 2024, Spotify changed who qualifies for a paycheck at all. The platform introduced a policy requiring tracks to reach at least 1,000 streams in the previous 12 months before generating any royalties. Below that threshold, the payout is zero. Spotify framed the change as fraud prevention, redirecting an estimated $40 million annually away from low-stream tracks. Independent musicians saw it differently. Their work still counts toward the platform's marketed catalog of over 100 million tracks. It just no longer counts toward compensation. But the payout math was only what showed up on the annual statements. Every December, musicians began posting their Spotify-wrapped earnings publicly. Hundreds of thousands of streams, a few $100s in royalties. The screenshots spread across social media and the math became impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, something else was changing inside the platform. Spotify spent over $1 billion building a podcast empire: Gimlet Media, Anchor, Parcast, and The Ringer. The platform signed exclusive deals worth hundreds of millions more, including a partnership with Joe Rogan, reported at up to $250 million. In early 2022, Neil Young pulled his entire catalog from the platform in protest of the Rogan deal, citing COVID misinformation. Joni Mitchell followed days later. Both returned roughly 2 years later after Rogan's show lost its exclusivity. The music streaming app became a podcast platform. Then audiobooks were bundled in. The home screen filled with podcast recommendations and algorithmically generated playlists that longtime subscribers said had noticeably declined in quality. Across social media and online forums, the complaint was consistent. Subscribers were paying for music, not podcasts. Customers spending $12.99 a month were subsidizing a content expansion that had nothing to do with the reason they originally signed up. If Spotify had stopped at podcasts and audiobooks, this would be a very different story. Then a journalist named Liz Pelly published what she had found inside the platform's own playlists. In January of 2025, Pelly released a book-length investigation into a Spotify program called Perfect Fit Content. The platform had partnered with stock music production companies to place cheaply produced tracks under fabricated artist names onto popular playlists like ambient chill, deep focus, and cocktail jazz. One investigation traced roughly 20 songwriters behind over 500 fake artist profiles, each generating millions of streams at royalty rates lower than what real signed musicians would earn. The economics were straightforward. Every stream of a ghost artist cost Spotify less than a stream of a real one. The playlists were not curating music for the listener. They were optimizing margins for the platform. The version most subscribers had been told about Spotify was not the full picture. Spotify does not pay a fixed rate per stream. The platform operates on a model called stream share. Total royalties in each market are divided by total streams, and each rights holder receives a share based on their proportion of plays. That structure means anything that increases total streams without proportionally increasing the royalty pool dilutes what each individual stream is worth to a musician. But the mechanism that matters most happened in April 2024. Spotify reclassified its United States premium subscription as a bundle, combining music and audiobooks into a single product category. That reclassification allowed the company to pay a lower mechanical royalty rate to songwriters and music publishers than the rate the Copyright Royalty Board had established for standalone music subscriptions. In May 2024, the Mechanical Licensing Collective filed a federal lawsuit against Spotify over the change. The dispute has continued through amended complaints and remains in active litigation. The customer pays more each year. The product expands into categories the customer never requested. And underneath it all, the legal classification of the subscription itself has been restructured to reduce what the people who write the songs are owed per stream. The expansion is the pay cut. Neither the customer nor the artist was consulted. Think about that for a second. Spotify reported its first full-year net profit in 2024, 1.138 billion euros on 15.67 billion euros in revenue. One of the primary factors behind that profit margin was a headcount reduction of over 1,800 employees the previous year. The profit did not flow to artists. Daniel Ek, the co-founder who built the platform from that Stockholm apartment, stepped down as chief executive officer effective January of 2026. He remains executive chairman. His personal investments include a leading stake in Helsing, a European defense technology company reportedly valued at roughly $18 billion. Several artists, including Massive Attack, pulled their music from Spotify in protest of those investments. That is the kind of number that makes the original $9.99 promise read very differently. Global recorded music revenue hit $31.7 billion in 2025, higher than the 1999 peak that piracy nearly destroyed. The industry recovered. The musicians did not. Every month, that $12.99 subscription funds a different layer of the same system. A fraction of a cent reaches the artist whose song the subscriber listened to hundreds of times. A larger share goes to the three major record labels that control over 70% of the global music catalog. Another portion funds a podcast and audiobook expansion the subscriber never requested. And the margin that remains funds a platform that posted its first billion-euro profit while raising prices for the third time in 30 months. When Spotify launched in 2011, the pitch was the simplest deal in music: $9.99 a month for every song ever recorded. That sentence still appears in the company's early press coverage. It reads very differently now. Spotify did not ruin the music industry by accident. It trained the world on a price, held it long enough to make the dependency total, then raised it 3 times while the people making the music earned less with every change. The $9.99 was the promise. The $12.99 is the proof. Spotify is not the only company running this playbook. The Business Breakdown playlist covers the rest.